Hey everybody, it's me, Remy, the comic book poser, and I'm here to enter you into the Poserverse and talk about 4 comic book news stories that I think are pretty important, or at least mildly interesting, leading into the next week of new comics starting on. Number one is that there is a new graphic novel coming out focusing on the Doors. Uh, If you do some quick search for Doors Morrison Hotel, you'll find that that's one of their uh, most influential albums, if not the most influential album that has been put out by the Doors in their history. And according to Christopher Shu Tablet from Multiversity Comics, there's a graphic novel coming out this year being produced by Z2 Comics. It's written by Leah Moore and a couple of surviving members from the band in Robbie Krieger and John Denmore. And it's a book that embodies kind of the spirit of the album. And I think one of the things that I've talked about a couple of times is that I like the crossover between music and comics. You'll have seen on the blog reviews of things like the 27 Club, which comes from 2 publishers that kind of looks at a lot of famous musicians that died infamously when they were 27 years old because of drugs, alcohol, depression, all of the above. That I, enjoyed reading that because of the crossover of my 2 passions. I also have really been enjoying the Armory Wars series of comics or omnibuses from Wicked Inc. and Boom Studios that kind of cover the different Coheed and Cambria albums. So I think this is kind of cool in terms of looking at one of the most, elated kind of what if asked questions about, a band in all of musical history of, what could this Doors album mean? What would future work from the Doors look like if Morrison had not died? So this book is slated to be released on October 13th of this year in a couple of different formats, but one of them is a hardcover slipcase edition that has a picture disc. So I think that could be kind of cool to look at some of the art from the album or other artistic releases. So I think that's kind of cool, especially if you're a big music fan, a big classic rock fan, a big Doors fan, and you also like comics or graphic novels, that it'll be interesting to watch these 2 tales kind of intersect. Number 2. This is a charity work being undertaken by Aftershock Comics that was reported on either by Chad Denton of CBR or Milton Gripe from ICV2. Aftershock has decided to create a quarantine comics themed book that will support shops for charity in a one-shot. So what is happening is that you have a slew of talent who works with Aftershock, including folks like Cullen Bunn, who y'all know I'm a huge Cullen Bunn stan, Stephanie Phillips, who did Butcher of Paris, or is also writing Artemis and the Assassin now, Zach Thompson, the Steve Orlando. All of these kinds of folks are creating single-shot stories bound together in a single anthology to be given away to stores. It's not stores that get them in some kind of random amount or random order. According to Aftershock, stores that are in Diamond's top 200 accounts for selling Aftershock products will receive 20 of these books on June 24th. Stores in Diamond's top 300 will get 10, and then any other store outside of the top 300 can request copies. And what I think Aftershock's doing that's kind of cool in terms of some of the charity works that is meant to get some money back to everybody's LCS post kind of the loss of distribution and all of the nightmarish things that have happened during COVID, is they are giving books to stores, and the intention is either to allow stores to give these books away for free if they choose, or to sell them to be able to make some money on some free product from Aftershock. So publisher Joe Pruitt said these are heartfelt stories crafted by creators with deep, lasting connections to comic shops from yesterday, today, and we have no doubt tomorrow. So I think it's kind of cool that some publishers have offered money back to your LCS if you ordered something through them. Some have created donations to banks. Some of them have created GoFundMe accounts. So I think it's kind of cool that Aftershock is creating an exclusive anthology for comic shops to sell with, no need to kick money back to Aftershock. Number 3, Free Comic Book Day is something that we kind of missed, right? I'm especially bitter because this would have been my first Free Comic Book Day as an avid consuming comic book collector or fan. I gave a shout out earlier to Source Point Press that did a Free Comic Book Week where you could get a slew of product for them in early May. But Marvel has released some of their Free Comic Book Day plans kind of chunked up. So they've made announced plans for 2 Free Comic Book Day titles. On July 15th, the X-Men #1 Free Comic Book Day version will come out. And it's got stories written by Jonathan Hickman and Tom Taylor with the intention of setting up things for the X of Swords crossover event that's happening. And then the second Marvel title that we've seen some press on is the Spider-Man Venom title, which is by Donny Cates and Jed MacKay, is supposed to come out on July 22nd, leading things into the new Amazing Spider-Man Black Cat title. So it's cool to see that we're finally seeing some plans, some things with Marvel that will start to line up between Free Comic Book Day, setting up the arc for some of their new events, new titles, new crossovers. So Marvel is finally doing something in the comic book marketplace that is making a lot of sense to me. The final story that we have for this week is about conventions. I've talked about the at-home Comic-Con that the Cape Crusaders or Comic Crusaders website has kind of been sponsoring with, I think it's Geek Nation, where they will elevate a couple of independent artists, creators, comic book publishers, whatever, per day to help kind of give that same kind of offer that a Creators Alley or an Artist Alley would give to these folks. But we finally started hearing some solidified plans from the mother of all conventions or mother of all Comic-Cons, or I think maybe the only one that can legally be referred to as Comic-Con or a con. The San Diego Comic-Con has announced the program for comics or Comic-Con at Home, which is a venture that is entirely free. It is a venture where you can still create badges and things to print off for a lanyard like you could get if you went to the San Diego Comic-Con, with exhibit halls that have no limit to them, panels that have no limit to what you can attend. So they're trying to create the same kind of virtual impact that San Diego Comic-Con would have in the physical world. If you are interested in looking at that, there's still slowly more information coming out. So if you check any of the traditional websites or social channels that you would have for your San Diego Comic-Con news, then look into those. This is a news story that's exciting to me because I don't think I'll ever get to go to a San Diego Comic-Con, let alone a large regional convention, because, I got 3 little kids at home, and none of them could handle spending as much unfettered time for a day at a convention, or my wife would probably not be thoroughly excited if I were like, I want to go to Comic-Con and leave you with 3 kids for a weekend. So it's kind of cool that folks like me who may not have access to tickets, the ability to travel, or the time to spend away from family to be able to see some of those kinds of things. So I think those are, to me, of all of the stories that have come out this last week, the best 4 bits of interesting comic book news that could impact you as a fan, as a consumer, as someone who reads comics on the daily, that you might not hear people talking about other places because it's not TV or individual book related. So hopefully you enjoyed the news. If there's a story you think that I missed, go ahead and add it to the comments. If not, hit that like button, hit that subscribe button, and give me a follow for other hot takes that I will post on all things comics and fandom throughout the rest of eternity. So as always, thanks for stopping by. Have a good one.